Hello and welcome everyone who is tuning in. Today we're doing a little bit of a unique show. I had the opportunity to go on a nice bachelor's party with one of my good friends, and I pictured it as a good opportunity to do some network testing. So we covered over 500 miles. I tested with 3 different phones, as well as I also got to hear the opinions of my friends that were in the car as we carpooled together. And tonight I have Sneed on the show as well to get his thoughts, since a lot of the trip revolved around going through Ohio. So we're going to be talking about the first ever Best Phone Plans network test and declaring a winner. So make sure you stay tuned till the end of the stream. But Sneed, before we get into this momentous event, how you doing today?
I'm excellent, man. Thanks for the invite. Good to be here. I'm excited for this one. I know PA pretty well, not like you, but I know it pretty well. The cities that you visited, I've been to, I frequent, and I know Ohio pretty damn well. So let's do this, man.
You got it. Well, first, I'm gonna give you a short little synopsis of kind of the path that was taken, and I'm pulling that up right now on the screen. But we essentially went through from Pittsburgh, going up through like Beaver Falls and that area to eventually make our way through Ohio. And we stopped through a couple of different cities here. I'm just trying to have Google Maps behave without showing my friend's address or my own, because that's not great. So just give me 2 extra seconds here. I should have prepped that before the show, but we wing it. I also just want to say hello, Charles, Ryu, David, and Kyle. Thank you for making it here. I definitely appreciate you guys always supporting the channel. I'm just getting a nice little map up here. That way you can see the path that was taken, and we could talk about some of the major stops. Our end destination that we went to was a place called Putin Bay, Ohio, by the way. It's just it's a little island just off of like Sandusky. There's like a port there. Are you familiar with that area, Sneed?
Yep, over there by like Lakeside and stuff. It's pretty nice. It's really a nice place to hang out in the summer.
Yeah, it's part of it's in Lake Erie. It's like right up against the Canadian border, which fun small fact, by the way. I actually picked up on Roger's cell phone. I was roaming off of a Canadian signal at one point.
Oh, you must have been about, what, 10, 15 miles out when you picked it up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was kind of funny. It was the T-Mobile phone that picked it up, which was pretty funny because that was the only usable service you would have if you had T-Mobile while you were up there. At least on the main island, anyway.
Yeah.
All right, so and I got what I wanted, and I'll just close.
And for the rest of today's video live stream, we'll be calling it Putin Bay. That's how the natives call it. Putin Bay.
Putin Bay. Not Putin Bay.
No, it's not. It's not Vladimir's. It is not his. It's not his bay.
Gotcha. Okay, I have got it up. I just want Google Maps to stop.
Berkey says he's got Rogers. He's in Canada. That's pretty cool.
I guess this is good enough. I don't know why Google Maps doesn't let me hide this without losing the screen, which is kind of annoying. But okay, we'll let it ride. So share screen, and we're gonna share Chrome tab. Boop. And we got it on, and I will zoom in on that. So this is the path that was taken. We started off around this area, which is in Ambridge, if you're familiar with Ambridge, Sneed. And this spot is a area that Verizon has put in serious work. Ultra wideband, this is one of the day one markets that ultra wideband went live.
Nice.
And they have definitely tuned and refined it there. Nice. From a speed, like throughput standpoint, I was getting like 500 meg by 50.
It's really good.
T-Mobile has ultra capacity here. It was pretty decent as well, 400 meg. Nice. And AT&T was like 250.
On LTE.
On LTE.
It's great. Isn't their LTE amazing?
It is. It really is.
It's legit like a competitor to those dedicated 5G channels. It's awesome.
It really is. So we took we took a pass similar to this. You know, we went through Monaco, which this is where AT&T has that that C-band site upgrade and a few sites upgrades. So obviously we were connecting 5G plus here and getting tremendous performance. But Pennsylvania, we're always in Pennsylvania. That's me, right? So let's move our way up a little bit. Are you familiar with this like Boardman area, like
Yeah,
near here?
absolutely. Yeah.
All right, so as you know, that's a pretty popular little shopping plaza. It's kind of akin to like Robinson, PA, right? There's the major mall,
Hmm.
there's the really nice Cinemax movie theater, and a bunch of other stuff there. Who do you think had the best coverage in Boardman?
That region typically, like Verizon, has had the coverage the longest. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming that, I mean, here we are in 2022 having this conversation. I'm going to assume that AT&T is right there. They're probably similar. I don't expect T-Mobile to be missing much there either. It's a well-developed area, relatively speaking. I wouldn't expect too many dead spots there.
Okay, I'm gonna throw in the hot spicy take. T-Mobile was the best there.
For coverage,
Coverage, capacity, everything.
so there were moments where T-Mobile had coverage and Verizon and AT&T had no signal.
It wasn't that there was no signal,
Oh, okay. All
but
right.
I'm just saying that like as far as like the actual usability of the coverage, the actual speed that was there, because here's the thing, and this is what made this trip really fun, right? So there's me. I'm looking at things like jitter, packet loss, all that other fun stuff, right?
All right.
And there's the people in my car, and I kid you not, I swear to God and everything, holy Sneed, my one friend, the one that's actually getting married, has Verizon.
Mm-hmm.
He said he hated Verizon this whole trip.
Wow.
He was very upset with Verizon. He said when he gets home, he's switching because it was
Start.
bad.
Does he have Start Unlimited?
No, he has Get More.
Wow.
He was not happy with Verizon, and
So was he looking at your experience with T-Mobile and like, I'm just going to switch to T-Mobile?
he wasn't doing that at all. He was just doing the basic stuff, Apple Music on the car, right? As we were doing
Apple
our car
Music
ride.
wouldn't work. It just needs like a couple of megs, man.
Mm-hmm. There
What?
was moments where Apple Music was cutting out, doing his basic social media browsing stuff like that, and
What
there
kind of
were
phone?
what's up?
iPhone?
Oh yeah, he's using an iPhone 13 Pro Max.
Wow, man.
Yeah, no. So yeah, Verizon was having a bit of a rough time when we were going through on that day. I'm not saying that's representative to every day, but at
Right.
least that day was a day where Verizon was having a bit of a rough time.
Right. Wow.
AT&T was very, very, very solid. Very solid, right? Plenty of capacity on the LTE network, nothing wrong with it. But T-Mobile far and away came out with the lead of like 700 megabit per second speed test by like
It's really good.
100.
Wow.
And that was really good. But then we get away from Boardman. And now we're on open highway. We're taking our little trip.
Okay.
And this is where something happened that actually surprised me by a lot. And that was the lack of any 5G from T-Mobile. There was long stretches where I was on T-Mobile's LTE, which is a symbol I haven't seen in a long time. No N71.
I know what that is. Those are Sprint sites.
They were Sprint sites.
Yeah.
Those were areas where T-Mobile had no coverage before, and Sprint was saving them. But the performance was not great.
No, they haven't been managed. They haven't been upgraded in years. So yeah, you're getting 5 megahertz of band 26. You might be getting 10 of band 25. There might be 20 megahertz of band 41. A couple of those frequencies only go a mile or two. So if the sites are 3, 4, 5 miles from each other, now you're working on band 26, a small skinny channel with very little capacity, and it's all T-Mobile's users. It's not just like Sprint customers are on there. It's a combination of Sprint T-Mobile customers on those channels. That spells trouble to me.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Here's the thing that you're also going to be finding kind of sad here. I actually have on my other window here a cell mapper screen, which I'm going to share right now. So I'm going to stop screen sharing this so I can throw up the cell mapper window. And I'm doing Chrome tabs to try to be as good as possible, my friends. I don't want to leak their addresses. But okay. All right. So we're in Ohio here, right? What do you notice here, Sneed? By the way, I have this set to only show cell sites that I collected. But what do you notice here with Verizon, Sneed? I don't know how well you can
I
see.
see a lot of sites. I see a lot of green, right?
Yeah,
So those are
green or
good connections,
verified. Like green are
right?
like lots of data collected. But what are you noticing about what's on those sites?
I can't see the bands. It's too small.
Here, I'm gonna really
Yeah,
zoom
just
in.
show me a few of them. How's that?
Can you see that?
A little more?
I am so zoomed in. I'm max zoom.
Is
Is
that
it?
one carrier?
That is one carrier
Is
band
that
13.
band 13 only?
Band
Ah,
13
ah, no,
only.
no. The dreaded band 13 only.
So
Brother.
Sneed, that's the thing I wanted to touch on because I know you. The way you describe Ohio, Verizon is the best thing since sliced bread. And I want to give you some sad news. My testing for Ohio as a whole over all these miles covered had Verizon having a lot of sites that were not upgraded. And not only were they not upgraded, but they were band 13 only sites. Those sites, while you might have had bars on your phone, were not usable. They were not usable. Those were the spots where Apple Music, which is not a high demanding task, literally cut out.
So how is what you're saying right now different than what I've been saying?
It's not different, but I feel like you phrased it nicer. I.e., you say AT&T has lots of capacity. We both agree AT&T is tremendous in our area of the country. However, you say Verizon is very consistent and very usable. My point that I'm bringing up is that there's actually inconsistencies with Verizon's network experience as a whole.
All right, so I guess I should re-quote myself then. In the recent years, I've seen two things happen. Well, one thing happen, one thing not happen. AT&T has upgraded basically every site I've connected to the last 3 years. They are Verizon, but with upgrades. They match site for site mostly once you get out rural, once you get on the freeway. AT&T doesn't really have dead spots. Neither does the Verizon. The problem is Verizon has band 13 only sites. AT&T doesn't really have that. They have band 12, band 14, band 30, band 2, band 66, band 29. They have cell sites that have 5 carrier, 6 carrier aggregation. That's the difference between Verizon and AT&T in Ohio today. They are the ultra fast coverage version of Verizon. For the longest time, we didn't have the data demands that we have today. So a band 13 only site back in 2013 was cool. 2014, probably 2015. By 2016, we started consuming so much video, right? There are so many gigs of data that are pulling from these tower sites at any given moment that now the sites are congested. And Verizon, because of that coverage reputation, has a lot of customers. Some of those customers need to go to AT&T because it's the capacity version of Verizon in Ohio. I just don't think people understand that they can leave Verizon. They're so loyal. They like Verizon's got that availability. It's there. There was probably no moment where you didn't have coverage.
Actually, I'm sorry to break that to you too. There were dead spots.
I'm assuming it's probably a failed radio. Verizon covers Ohio really, really good, but that's possible, and that's a problem. You know,
On
we
it,
talked. I've talked about this before, Dennis. We have said time and time again, right? Verizon's got this reputation. I think it's time we start questioning it. They have neglected sites for a long time, and some of these radios that have failed have questioned the coverage and the reliability. And it's moments like this, Dennis. I think you should highlight it here. Verizon, for all that excellence and all that reliability, they have their hiccups.
honestly, I was gonna tell you. Ironically enough, Sneed, one of the things that actually blew me away when I was taking this long trip was that T-Mobile and Verizon, I'm just talking bars on phone, was identical from like a signal strength standpoint, pretty much.
Yeah,
Areas where the RSRPs were low, Verizon were also low.
So they were probably on the same site, right?
For
Yeah.
much of that trip. I can't really think. I mean, I at least when we're talking about the mainland, the island's going to be a different conversation. But at least on the mainland, I can't think of a time where anybody didn't have service. At least bar on phone. Overall though, there were times, and you'll see this as we get closer with a lot of these red sites that are new, that Verizon had a little bit better coverage, like as far as like actual signal strength goes. But overall, at least on the mainland, if you were traveling between Pittsburgh to get to, as you put it, not Putin Bay, whatever you just called it, Ohio,
Put in Bay.
Putin Bay. Overall, though, I would say that you would have been better served having AT&T, because throughout that whole trip, calling wise, texting wise, data wise, they were the most reliable and capacitive the whole way through. T-Mobile was the second best option. I'm actually putting them above Verizon on the mainland. They were the second best option because they had coverage pretty much everywhere Verizon did. The difference maker being that T-Mobile did, with the exception of the neglected Sprint sites, every T-Mobile site that was native that I passed was upgraded with at least N71. And unlike Pennsylvania, those channels were 10 megahertz and it was actually quite capacitive, or had ultra capacity, and that was insane. I kid you not, Sneed, I was getting ultra capacitor from T-Mobile looking at farmland getting 700 megabits per second.
Yeah, I think a lot of people think N41 is and 5G UC is this great urban capacity layer. It shines in rural. Actually, in my experience, I think N41 is at its best when it's outside of the city. There's interference, there's power level issues, there's all types of problems that have to be managed by the engineers. It shines in rural. It goes for miles. And it is so good. And the propagation and all that's great. We need to call a spade a spade. Verizon, this is, by the way, Ohio, PA, this is all telemarkets. Verizon is king when it comes to coverage. These are self-inflicted wounds. They have neglected these sites for the better part of the last decade. They need to be called out on this. They've done a great job with Cleveland. They've done a great job with the county, Cuyahoga County, the surrounding counties like Medina and Lake and all that, and Lorain County, which you drove through if you went to the ferry. You went through Lorain County. I'll show you. Those areas are great, but it's areas in between these major, parts of the state where they just left these band 13 only sites. So they did great to put out this LTE network, but it's like, what are we talking about? We're talking about the most basic of cell service right now. LTE, old LTE, single carrier LTE. I get why you're saying this about AT&T. It's the same thing I've been saying for the last 2-3 years. By far, the most uniform capacity in Ohio is AT&T. Even though T-Mobile's got great N41 and all that, still give me the AT&T uniformity in that capacity.
Yeah, it was really eye-opening to me, though, because, as you know, when I traveled out west, right, like in a place like Vegas, Verizon's tremendous. It's like Pittsburgh. And I'm mentioning this because I see a comment that Michael left here, which I want to address really quickly. This network testing is specific to Pittsburgh and Ohio. Every carrier is going to have markets that perform differently. But for people that travel from Pennsylvania and into Ohio, right now Verizon's really struggling, and this was a very eye-opening experience.
All you got to do, Dennis, is just count the band 13 only sites that you connected to.
Yeah,
count them. If it's more than a couple, we have a problem. Like I could see like one or two, but I mean they got to have 66. They got to have 2. We should start to see some C-band, some band 5. By the way, band 5 was converted from 3G. They moved it over to LTE and DSS. None of those sites have those upgrades. So Dennis, that's 20 megahertz spectrum.
So I'm just looking at my Google Notes on my personal phone here because actually I did make sure to screenshot the service mode tool on my Samsung Galaxy S22 Ultra. And I'm just looking through the screenshots here.
See, if it's not a band 13 only site, you're probably always going to have enough to stream your music, to do your GPS,
Well, there were
to do
band
it.
13 and 66 sites that were slow, like the one at my house.
Yeah,
But
but those should still be usable. They might not be great. They may have their moments where they're not awesome and they might be slow. But I mean, if it's a modernized site, Dennis, we wouldn't be seeing these issues.
so there was 5 band 13 only sites.
It's too many. You only drove like 100 miles. Well, one way, like from what was it? From Pittsburgh to Boardman. How far are we from your Oregon?
I
100 miles.
drive roughly about 200 miles.
So
And that's because we
like
have
from where we're at on the map right now, like where we ended up, like so far, the progress.
We're probably about maybe like 100 miles deep.
And you already had a handful of band 13 only sites?
Yeah, we had 5. We had 5 band 13 only sites total. Is what
Unacceptable.
Yeah.
Unacceptable.
But what was I gonna say? When you were talking about the mid-band propagation, before we move on to talk further, I just wanted to say your ultra capacity experience that you were talking about with T-Mobile is the same thing I was agreeing upon with when it comes to Verizon as well. Over here in Pittsburgh, Verizon's ultra wideband is so much more phenomenal the further you get away from the city. The best example of that is where my parents are at. Tremendous support. Tremendous performance, tremendous range as you talked about, or even better yet, my good friend who I got hooked up to the T-Mobile the Verizon fixed wireless home internet. When you're in rural, that mid-band does so much more for those people because there's less people there, less traffic, and there's just so much more capacity all around. And like you said,
they can put full power to it, Dennis. Right, so they can blast it. They don't have to worry about interference and the sonar dropping. Right, so the signal to noise ratio. Look, man, a lot of people are like, no, we need low band, it's rural. No, you need more sites and you need mid band is really what you need.
But moving on through our journey, let's talk about Cleveland, which Google Cell Mapper does a really hard job here.
Well, there's just a lot of sites, Dennis. It's
Yeah.
Verizon's got a site every mile, AT&T's got a site every mile and a half. T-Mobile's right around there, maybe every 2 miles. There's a lot of sites, and that doesn't even count probably all the small cells that haven't been mapped. And Verizon has a ton of those.
Yeah, let's just talk about Cleveland. I'm having a hard. I think this is it right here on Cell Mapper.
Yeah. Downtown is where all those green highways are.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can. Yep.
Yeah, that looks right. Okay, so let's talk about Cleveland for a second. Cleveland was tremendous for T-Mobile, as you talked about with their upgrades. I think that was honestly one of the best showings I've seen from T-Mobile, and that's right in line with like Longmont, Colorado, where like T-Mobile's a godsend, as you know, from Pete and Stetson. My question to you is because you've done some FaceTime calls with me before and stuff like that, and you told me about there's some inconsistencies. Is there a specific area that Cleveland is failing? Because when I went through and was doing my testing, I was seeing tremendous latency, very consistent jitter, very consistent everything. Everything looked pristine. So is there like a particular spot in Cleveland where T-Mobile was struggling, or like what's the deal here? Because there wasn't really a point where I wasn't on ultra capacity at any point.
No, the only time you're going to have issues with T-Mobile is going to be up against the lake, because their tower sites are all about a mile and a half from the lake, right? So they're sending one of their sectors literally to the direction of the lake, right? I don't know what the best engineering practice would be, but I've noticed that Verizon will get them a little bit closer to Lake Road, which is Route 2. You'll see it up against the lake. It's literally running parallel to the lake, the shore. Verizon puts sites a little bit closer to the lake. Therefore, they have better, more reliable signal quality, and oftentimes it's a more reliable experience because the sites are closer to the edge. So that would really be the only trouble. Outside of that, Dennis, if you are speed testing networks, T-Mobile will impress you in Cleveland.
Well, I wasn't just doing
sites. Their slower sites will get you 100, 150. Their faster sites will get you 500, 600.
Well,
right?
See, that's the thing. I wasn't just doing speed tests. I was literally using my T-Mobile phone as a hotspot. I was literally using it as a hotspot because I had 2 of them, right? I got my main iPhone that has the T-Mobile SIM, and I got the Galaxy S22 Ultra that I ended up financing, right? I was literally using my iPhone as a hotspot for the friend that had Verizon. And then on the main phone, I was doing my speed test from Ookla. I was doing my fast.coms so I could see buffer bloat. I was doing nperf. I was doing the whole suite. Everything I saw from T-Mobile was what good engineering looks like in Cleveland when I tested through it. Like that was that was like AT&T levels of performance that I see in Pittsburgh type of deal. I don't think there was a moment I dropped below 100 meg at any point. Does that sound about right, or am I like drinking too much T-Mobile Kool-Aid?
No, you're right. That's all pretty accurate, Dennis. The only trouble I've had, I mean, I've been speed testing every single upgrade within this city and the surrounding suburbs. I've tested a lot. And the only trouble I have, it's not speed tests. It's not always nperf. It's not fast.com. Those aren't issues. They do great. It's like FaceTime audio calls. It's FaceTime video calls. It's trying to do a live stream, which I don't know how to quantify this, Dennis. I don't know what numbers to tell you. I don't know how a speed test metric equates. I've literally been a half a mile, quarter mile from a site with 5G UC, 5G Ultra, the 5G extended range, and it dropped, and you were on the phone with me.
Oh, I'm aware. I remember at your house, you were inaudible.
Strange things happen on the T-Mobile network in Cleveland. Strange moments that you're just like, you're scratching your head as to like, what just happened? My signal is strong. You know, I was on the audio call. I mean, I remember running a speed test at the bakery right before I did a live stream. I wanted to make sure I had the bandwidth, you know, the throughput. It was like 52 megabits up. The live stream crashed. I've done live streams driving through the city, and they've crashed. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think what ends up happening, Dennis, and because of my extensive testing, here's my conclusion. They don't really do small cells. And I think sometimes what happens is you get off the 5G UC, you're put onto the 5G extended range. So you're on the 600 megahertz low band, and that's a much skinnier channel than the ultra capacity, right? And as your signal starts to degrade, your speeds degrade even faster. So your RSRP is dropping, your signal strength is dropping, and then your uplink is the first thing to pay the cost. You're going to go from like 50 megabits up to like 10, and then you get on edge cell and you're at 1 or less. And because their tower density is not very good, that's what ends up happening. And it's at these inopportune times. Like you literally have to go from one cell to another. So, and their handoffs from one cell to another is trouble, because I've been on calls where I've watched the cell change and I've dropped calls. You know, so it's these weird, unusual things that I don't see from AT&T and I don't see it from Verizon. And those are engineering problems. Like they have to fix that. And if they can't fix it, the only solution is to build more sites.
Yeah, that's one thing I will say during my testing. I wasn't testing audio calls specifically or FaceTime because it's really hard to do that, right? So I'm just curious because it's so weird, right? Like you do all these metrics that we have access to as consumers, and it's like, wow, you're checking off all the boxes. How are you dropping this FaceTime call? How are you dropping this audio call? How is a text message not sending? Everything looks right, you know? It was just an odd thing though, because it was so perfect that it was too perfect, if that makes sense, when I did my testing. Which is a weird thing to say. But anyway, that was my Cleveland testing. Oh, speaking of Cleveland, let's talk about Verizon for a second there. Verizon was not as good as I was expecting it to be based off your experience in Cleveland and what you've told me about. I rarely connected to ultra wideband. Rarely. And overall speeds were kind of like, they kind of remind me of Pittsburgh, basically, before C-band was even a thing. I think I was averaging like 50 meg LTE. 50 meg DSSS, excuse me.
All right, so here's where the ultra wideband is. The ultra wideband is not in Cleveland proper. They started on the outside and they're moving in. So if you go like by the airport, for example, there's ultra wideband there. If you go to Strongsville, there's ultra wideband there. Columbia Station, North Royalton, those areas are like 30 miles south of Cleveland. So I'm literally watching them go from the outside of the county inward towards the city. They haven't done, like, say, for example, you're on the west side of Cleveland here, right? So
Mhm.
you're west of the city. So you're talking about like Avon, Lorraine. They haven't really built out there yet. So if you go to the east suburbs of Cleveland, they're loaded. They have millimeter wave everywhere, and they have the C-band everywhere. So like where you tested, yeah, there isn't any ultra wideband there yet. That's true.
It's the wrong place, wrong time kind of deal, huh?
They're gonna have to upgrade these sites. It's gonna happen, but what are you gonna do, man? They've got to get going.
And I will just I know people will call me the AT&T simp or whatever, but I gotta say, Cleveland was another place where AT&T impressed me. They were very much like my Pittsburgh experience. It was very tremendous. But all right, we talked about enough of the mainland. All right, so we go through here. Obviously, driving happens. Let's talk about this more interesting touristy spot. So now we're over in, I think it's Port Clinton or
Port Clinton. Yep.
Yeah, Port Clinton. First off, can I just say one thing that really surprised me is the disparity in age. The people that live in Port Clinton tends to be an older demographic.
A lot of fishing and yeah.
Yeah, you get the Putin Bay and it's all young. It's such a wide disparity. But
by the way, Dennis, Port Clinton, Sandusky, the Verizon tower density
is insane.
It's like 3 or 4 times higher than T-Mobile.
Yeah, no, it's insane, and that's why.
And AT&T is like double T-Mobile, if not more.
And that's why what I'm about to say is going to be really ironic. And that it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt. It's going to hurt a lot of people. So, on the mainland at Port Clinton, Verizon was terrible. Point blank terrible. I'm talking no more than 5 megabits per second.
It's terrible.
Terrible.
That is terrible.
T-Mobile was tremendous. They had N41 there. 100 megabits per second was generally what I was seeing on ultra capacity, which is slow for N41, but in consideration to what everybody else was getting there, was tremendous. AT&T, ironically enough, was barely able to get 100 megabits per second during prime time. Sneed, as someone that's been there, does this surprise you? Does this sound crazy? Do you think Verizon was just having an off day here? Tell me your thoughts.
No, I mean, this is all very possible. I mean, I've been to Put in Bay, I've been to Port Clinton, I've gone to Sandusky. Verizon was always great. I wonder if it's just congestion. I mean, can we look at the carrier bands that are on these sites?
Yeah, I think right now we're
like
on.
What I'm saying is this the case of the band 13 only sites again?
No, so
or I will tell you this: the population there is really on Verizon. So if even a band 13 and band 66 will probably be congested.
Yeah, so the site that I was connected to, which is this one right here, for the bulk of the time, was band 5, 13, and 66.
All right, so that should be usable, but they have too many customers.
It was not usable. Yeah, and I want to be clear here. Notice how it's the only site. You said there was multiple. That's the only site I showed reported.
No, I was speaking of Sandusky.
Oh, okay, sorry. Yeah. Well, at Fort Collins, that was the only site serving. It was one site for all.
Who else is on there? Who else is on there?
I believe T-Mobile was also sharing that site. Oh, I don't know why CellMapper hasn't up. Oh, right. I'm only showing my results. Let me stop sharing for a second.
Yeah, I was gonna say if it's a situation where it's like if that's the only site in the area, all carriers got to be on it.
I turned off only my contributions so that way we can see others.
You know what's interesting is you guys took the Port Clinton ferry. We always take the Lorraine ferry.
Yeah, it was like the express ferry or something like that. Huh. But okay, I turned off only show my stuff so that way if there is other data recorded, it'll show. But let me reshare this screen here.
The market share for Verizon is much too high for them to not have these sites upgraded. They
So
need more
this
spectrum on air.
So yeah, now it's showing everything. So this is all the Verizon sites in this area, not necessarily ones that I connected to, but all the ones that were there. And then let's go back. I'm going to choose T-Mobile again. Ironically enough, it's not showing any sites for T-Mobile, which I know is wrong. It might have just not updated yet. Maybe I need to grab my
Somebody
phone.
didn't map it yet, right?
Well, no, I was connected to it. I mapped it. It might have just not refreshed on Cell Mapper.
Okay. Okay.
Point. But I'm like 100% sure that everybody was on that same site.
Okay. Let's see if Dish goes up there.
But let's just see if AT&T will show. Now, AT&T I know isn't mapped by Cell Mapper because I don't have AT&T on an Android phone, and clearly it's showing that it's in the middle of over here.
Man, what do they got, a cell tower in the middle of the lake, man?
I guess so. But no.
Floating on some fish out there.
But no, there's something I want you to notice, though, even though it's inaccurately mapped, that those bands are correct. Notice all the carrier aggregation AT&T has on that cell site.
Yeah, man.
Let's go back to Verizon and notice what they're putting on. So we got roughly 30 megahertz. 30.
I can tell you exactly what they got. I know their spectrum holding. So you got band 5, that's 10 by 10. Okay. Band 13 is 10 by 10. So that's basically 20 megahertz, right, for the low band. But you can't use both. You get one, right? Low band on LTE. Right. So you get one. So you're on 10 megahertz. Band 2 is 5 megahertz. Band 66 is 20. That's it.
Yep.
That's it. And because they only have 5 megahertz of band 2, there's their trouble. If they had 10, if they had 15, you probably have a different experience, but they don't. That site sorely needs C-band and probably also CBRS. I would do both. Yeah.
C-band would have helped. That's what helped T-Mobile tremendously. And AT&T was just able to power through with their 7-way care ag. They had like everything going on, right? So
yeah, man, they got 2, they got 66, they got 12, they got 14, they have 29, they got 30. They got it all.
So let's talk about, so just to confirm, just to make it short and brief, if you're on the mainland at Port Clinton, T-Mobile is your guy, or AT&T. Verizon not usable. Now, you're on the ferry, you're taking your trip across this little stretch of ocean. T-Mobile actually drops down to 2G edge when you're doing this.
Wow.
And AT&T and Verizon maintained service the whole way through. Was great. And then we get to Put-in-Bay. And I took a picture, actually, and sent it to you of that water tower site, Sneed, if you remember. I don't know if you
nice and tall, man. Yep.
But there wasn't a lot of cell sites on this island, and T-Mobile only had one that I was aware of, and it's over here. There we go. They only have this one.
What bands were on there, Dennis?
2 and 66.
Oh, it's an older site.
It's wow. An older site.
Wow, they haven't even upgraded it yet. That needs 71. That needs the N41.
Yeah, it's not upgraded, and I mean this sincerely. T-Mobile was not usable at all. On the whole time, the whole day that we were on Put-in-Bay, I had my friends that had T-Mobile, specifically at Boost Mode with T-Mobile Sims, hotspotting off my Los Red line because they couldn't send texts, they couldn't place calls, they couldn't do anything.
Wow.
If you try to run a speed test, it would just fail. There was bars on the phone, but it was not. It was actually unusable for literally everything, even a phone call could not.
So how is there not like for these carriers? How is there not like the bat phone where like they're like, yo, this site can't carry traffic. This site is dead. You know, people can't make calls. This stuff is failing. Like those have to be prioritized. Like this bro, there are a lot of people on this.
It's a party island.
Dude, and during the from spring, literally from like April, May, all the way through like September, there are going to be thousands of people traveling there daily. Thousands of new people coming in, people going out, taking the ferry, spending the day, spending 2-3 days. They rent homes there, right? Like Airbnb. People are on jet skis. People are, they're on their golf carts riding around. Dude, I know Put-in-Bay. And it's families, and it's kids, and it's teenagers, and it's 20-somethings, and it's 30-somethings, and it's it's all types of stuff. First of all, this needs 2 sites. First of all, needs 2 sites. Second of all, they both have to be upgraded, right? They got to be modern.
Yeah. So T-Mobile, hands down, if you have them of any kind, you're screwed. If you're on Put 'em Bay, you are screwed. Period. End of story. Now, Verizon, this is where Verizon actually impressed me, is when I got to Put 'em Bay. Verizon was not fast. I want to be clear. They were not fast. However, they were stable and usable. That was that Verizon reliability that I was really talking about. Like I said, I was using it for a hotspot for all my friends that had T-Mobile, and we were great. Verizon, you get a double thumbs up. You still need to upgrade and put C-band on those sites. Like the capacity is needed. I want to be clear. You're not getting a pass, but you maintained above 10 megabits per second, which it was a reliable, stable 10 megabits per second. FaceTime calls worked, calling worked, texting worked, everything worked.
I'm shocked, man. I really thought Verizon was going to truly struggle there. There's the market share matters with these networks. It's all relative to how many customers you're serving. This is Verizon country.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was saying, some people got to switch to AT&T, man.
Well,
Verizon just has too many customers.
That's the funny part here. AT&T far and away knocked my socks off with their performance.
I can't wait to see the carriers on their site.
AT&T has two sites. If you notice, Verizon had both sites on one side, right? AT&T has two sites on either side, and notice they're fully upgraded. 2, 12, 14, 30, 66. They have it all. AT&T far and away blew me away. They were getting literally 100 megabits per second with so many people in a small thing. Like we were going up there when there was like a pirate thing going on. There was all kinds of stuff going on, and they still managed to get 100 megs. That doesn't sound like a lot, but that is so impressive considering it's LTE. AT&T blew me away at this location.
Yeah, they have an upgraded site.
Two
upgraded sites, and they have less market share. Verizon is just barely able to keep their, head above water. And because there's no Sprint sites on this place and T-Mobile hasn't upgraded that site, they're atrocious there. I mean, that's literally what this boils down to. Verizon, if the market share was balanced and more people are on AT&T, they'd probably both be doing the same thing, whatever it is, right?
Like 50, yeah.
Yeah, they'd probably both be right around there. There's a disproportionate amount of customers on Verizon in Ohio. I've been screaming this for the last 3 years, Dennis. You people, you Verizon customers, need to explore other carriers. Oh, man.
So I guess based off everything I discussed, Sneed, based off my info that I shared with you and previous information that you know, who would you claim it would be the winner of our little mini network test of sorts? Who do you give the W? You give AT&T?
It's not even close. AT&T. They were usable, serviceable, and fast. Any combination of those things, 99% of the way. T-Mobile was useless on your destination, and Verizon was congested for multiple parts of the trip. That's a slam dunk. AT&T, and it's not even close.
So I also give the winner to AT&T. However, it was a little bit of a close pick for me because for most of the mainland travel, T-Mobile was really impressive. And I can see how they got the W for a lot of places on like route metrics and the PC mag testing and everything like that. But yeah, it's AT&T hands down. While you might not be getting the peak throughput that I saw with T-Mobile, because there was literally times where I was getting close to a gig on T-Mobile. While you're not seeing the key throughputs, there was never a point where the service wasn't usable. And I really tip my beanie off to AT&T and their network engineers. Which, for people that know me, they're probably going to be saying, oh, biased Dennis. But I promise you, you saw the points on my cell mapper trip. Please, if you do not trust my testing, which is fine, go ahead and do it yourself. And you might get different results if you use different tools, and that's fine. That's more info. I'm happy to encourage more testers.
Dennis, what you experienced, that is AT&T in Ohio. That is, it gets better in other places too, which is crazy. It's better in Columbus. It's better in Dayton. It's better in Toledo. It's great in Ohio. I'm over the last couple of years, 2, 3 years, I've seen all these sites get these upgrades, the band 14, the band 30, right? All of that. I mean, in my experience, it's basically the capacitive version of Verizon's coverage, just because the cells are modern, you know? And look, there's only one thing I disagree with you with, and it's just, I mean, you said Verizon's not great in the Cleveland area. It's very good. It's really good. But that's really it, Dennis. Everything you said, I've seen, noticed, observed. That's it's all accurate. But
I
the problems you highlighted about Verizon are true too. That's true.
Yeah, I guess I should say in my part of the Cleveland area that I got to test with Verizon on my day they weren't.
Was unimpressive, right?
Yeah. But yeah, that was my thoughts on the whole thing. I would love for some comments to come in. Like I said, if you disagree with me, totally fine. You can point out
So Dennis, how long was your drive?
like 3.5 hours.
And how long did you stay in Put in Bay?
Like 2 days. Well, a day and a half.
So how are you going to score T-Mobile so highly when they were basically useless for 2 days?
That's the thing. Putin Bay, the island, was not good.
Okay, so what I'm saying
Port
is you got to do
Clinton
two
was
evaluations. You got to do
right.
two evalu. You got to do your like, I guess like the drive, like how it would be for like say like Root Metrics, PC Mag, right? So that part,
Yeah.
T-Mobile was great, but like if you look at the volume or the amount of time you spent at your destination, that it was a brick.
Oh.
Your phone was a brick.
Oh yeah. Well,
So the same thing happened to
that's
me.
when I use cell map. I mean, that's when I use the eSIM swap and just use the
Yeah.
lowest red.
The same thing happened to me when I was in, I think Oregon, Ohio. Me and the family went on a vacation. We spent a few days at this resort. T-Mobile had no signal on the resort. Nothing. The closest site was a Sprint site, which had like band 25 only, and it was like 6 miles away. So it didn't reach. There was band 12 once I got 5 miles off the resort. And that was the T-Mobile band 12, which means that was built what in like 2013 or something. It was a brick. Couldn't do anything with it.
I just want to say the thing that I found most hilarious though was the one time that T-Mobile was actually useful on the island was when I was roaming off of Rogers.
Oh, you were able to pick up. Well, you got to be careful with that data, dude. That's expensive.
That was the
data.
only time they were usable, and Rogers is so far away.
Well, apparently those signals propagate over water really well, dude.
Apparently so.
Millimeter wave goes like 10 miles or something crazy.
But that's the funniest thing to me is that they were only usable when I wasn't on the network.
I see crazy things in RF, man. Seriously.
Michael, I just want to be clear here. I talk to Carlos on the daily for hours. What I'm saying is I encourage people to test and do different methodologies to come up with results. Not that I question my own testing. I'm just saying that sneeze a teacher. The scientific process, right? You come up with a hypothesis, you do your testing, and you lay out the results so people can repeat your testing and do the same thing to see if they can draw the same conclusions because we're all human. We all have biases and stuff like that. I like to think I'm pretty unbiased and try to acknowledge some of my subconscious like leanings with like my disproportionate dislike of Verizon as a company. I keep that in mind to give fair treatment. Like I said this before and you've seen it on previous streams, I've been very impressed by the rollout of their C-band where it's available. This just was not Verizon's day.
Yeah.
Just point blank, it wasn't Verizon's day. They have work to do on that specific route, that specific path.
Yeah, there's literally no C-band out there. That's probably true because I've looked at the maps. It's not there. It doesn't exist.
Yeah. So I'm not trying to give everybody that loves Verizon a hard time. I'm just trying to call spade a spade and honestly encourage companies to do the right thing for consumers. They have an we pay them money for service. They have an obligation to provide quality service, especially Verizon, who continues to charge the premium pricing. If they want to charge a premium pricing, they demand a premium experience.
See, Dennis, I hope that somebody at Verizon or somehow, some way gets a hold of this live stream and an engineer, lead engineer, somebody sees this and reports back to their supervisor, their lead, and says, "Do you see this? We need to put dollars in this region." That's what this boils down to, is the spending in this area. It's not that the engineers can't do their job. For the most part, the engineers are pretty good. Resources, man. Right?
Also,
where's the money going?
Also, to now take a little fun side tangent, I do want to talk about something else after this trip. I finally got to eat at Sneed's Bakery.
Nice, man.
And I got to test that millimeter wave sight that was outside. I was sitting on that little like stone
Yeah,
table area that you suggested.
yeah.
Do you want to take a guess what my millimeter wave performance was like?
2.5 gigabits per second.
No.
What?
You heard me? No.
Really?
Really?
3 gigs?
No, you're going too high.
I was just sitting on the table today. I was getting 3 gigs.
I was getting like 1.5.
What phone were you using?
Galaxy S22 Ultra and iPhone 13 Pro Max.
Sheesh, man.
Lowest
I'll show
rated
you.
and consumer get more.
I'll show you the Xfinity Mobile millimeter wave test I did today.
I believe you. I'm just saying when I sat on the little patio right outside of your bakery, the little stone one that's like a circle.
Yeah.
And I was eating my shawarma combo that I got.
Nice. That's a good choice, by the way.
Thank you. That's the speeds I was getting. I don't know if it was an off day, maybe the rain, whatever, but that was what I was getting.
I'm surprised. I'm shocked. I mean, I sit there and I test it all the time. But I mean, millimeter wave can be finicky, so I'm not going to deny that, that it's possible. But Dennis, let me share this with you.
Okay.
I'm going to see if I can do this here. Share.
Also, I just want to say
you got in the same seat, Dennis.
You got me hooked, by the way, on for anybody that's here, by the way, we're just having a little bit of fun talk. I know some of you guys really enjoy that, but I got hooked on this soda, this Vimto.
Vimto, yeah.
Vimto, dude, I bought a whole case from your store.
It's so good.
I have some down in the fridge. It is delicious. I loved it. I really wish I had more stomachs, and that way I could eat more of your food. But what I had was great. Yeah, no, I saw this on Twitter. Yeah, I maybe I was just getting.
Did you locate the node? Did you see where it was?
I didn't see where it was.
Okay,
my friends were rushing me to go to McDonald's because I told you about that one friend.
Ah, goodness. So if you were sitting down at the table facing the street, to the right, 1 block away behind the building, the signal's bouncing off the buildings across the street, and then it's getting to you off Ricochet.
Well, for Ricochet, that's tremendous. A gig and a half off a Ricochet, like that's impressive.
No, this is 2.8 gigs.
I don't know. Yeah. Maybe their body was, maybe the hand was in the wrong place. I don't know.
But I will admit, Dennis, the millimeter wave connection is touchy, and it's got variability, and small things can impact the connection.
My hand, maybe. I don't know. Maybe
I bet it was the shawarma, bro.
It was the shawarma.
That is some thick shawarma.
Well, as we round out this show, Sneed, do you want to tell the people what we're going to be doing tonight? Anything you want to announce to the audience?
Well, I mean, what are we doing here? It's about 7:11. We'll get the show going at like 8 o'clock, so I'll have that set up just shortly here in about 45, 50 minutes. But what we're gonna do is the following topics are going to be discussed. I found an article on AT&T's take on fixed wireless access. I got to have you on for this, Dennis. You got to come on the show, all right? So, whenever somebody poo-poos fixed wireless, I'm going in, right? Because I like it, and I support it, and I'm a big fan of it. And I like the pushback. You know what I mean? So we're going to do that. And then also the other topic, and I just made the title so you guys can actually see it over on my channel. But the other piece is going to be AT&T raising prices again. And I have a problem with this, Dennis. You raise prices once because
inflation or whatever.
Inflation, cost, whatever. You do it a second time. Well, what message are you sending? Like, you do something once, you are liable to do it again. You do something twice, that is now a tendency. I have fears, and I have reason to believe that AT&T will continue to raise prices throughout the rest of this calendar year, and maybe even through the next year. So I would not be shocked, and I'll talk more about the details as to why. And the CFO of the company had some statements. Every company has tools. Every company has strategies. I have fears that the only tool and the only strategy AT&T has is that, and I'll explain why.
Also, I just want to do a proper shout out for Stetson. He uploaded a fantastic video today. It's 6 minutes long. So while you guys are waiting for our second live stream on Sneed's channel, recommend go checking out Stetson Doggett's new video. As you know, he always does a good bang-up job and making concise, informative information in case you were interested in taking advantage of the T-Mobile network. He talked about Mint with their new promos and their deflationary pricing, which honestly, I know I'm a big fan of Mint. Sneed, I don't know if you ever had an opportunity to test them yourself, but it's pretty much a deprioritized T-Mobile experience, which
That sounds terrible.
which in an area with ultra capacity is good.
Yeah, that could work. Yeah.
But anywho, we're going live at 8 on Sneed's channel. Be there, be square, and I want to thank you all for coming out as always and supporting the show. Let me know if you like this kind of like Best Phone Plans network testing little series, and maybe we turn into something we do on a yearly basis with more thoughts, and maybe we can get Sneed to come in and contribute, and maybe we can get Stetson to contribute for Denver area, and I could do Pittsburgh, and we can get our own little kind of root metrics-y style little thing going. But with that being said, thank you again. Smash the like button if you could, subscribe, and hit the bell notification so you don't miss it, and make sure you share this with a friend. I think they'll enjoy. Peace, guys.